Well guys, we got all of our brackets installed in the last video, and the top of this wall looks really good and flat. However, we all know that nothing is perfect. So what we're gonna do today is get our elevation on all these brackets so that we can make up our columns with a story pole so that everything is on the exact same elevation. So our trusses will be right where they wanna be, our headers on our doors, our windows, everything will be perfect as we can possibly make it, instead of just setting our columns into this wall bracket and assuming that the concrete guy made everything perfectly level. So let's go ahead and get into this process. 350 set up, and now we're gonna go ahead. Basically, you guys saw how freaking nice and level this wall is. It's probably gonna be really good. So I'm not really concerned with trying to find the highest one, because I think they're all gonna be pretty darn close. So I'm just gonna get my laser set up and find where my receiver hits the laser. Now, the important thing here is that when you're doing this, always have to make sure that your stick is plumb. So if it's not plumb, then it's not gonna be accurate. Okay. Now, my floor, the floor inside the building is 2 inches below wall. That was the goal. So that's why I'm not all that concerned about this consistency. I just need to basically get a zero baseline. Let's think about that, Greg. Do I care? I'm gonna rethink this, and I think to help you guys out there that are watching this, if you're gonna do this sort of process, this bracket right here, according to my receiver, is 1/4 inch higher than over there at zero. What that means is I need to cut 1/4 inch off of the bottom of this post in order to be at the same elevation up at my truss. So what I'm going to introduce is negative numbers that I need to remember when I'm making up my brackets. And Greg had a good point. He's like, let's go ahead and find the highest bracket. That way every bracket in here is either a 0 or a plus number. And I agree with that. Greg, it's a good idea, because we've been down this road, and to avoid you guys making mistakes, it's nice if you don't have pluses and minuses. It's nice if you have only zeros and only pluses or minuses. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm gonna go around and actually take 2 minutes. I'm gonna find the high bracket, make it my 0, and then I'm gonna restart this whole process, because I think it'll make our job a lot easier in the long run. All right, so I went around, I found my highest bracket, which means now everything will be 0, or in this case, let's see, we need to go up 3/8 of an inch, so I need to add 3/8. So that is the difference between my highest bracket and what probably is going to be one of my lowest brackets, which that's no big deal. You'll never be the wiser when this is done. So same thing. So this plus 1/16 from before, we'll see what we got now. Plus 7/16. No big deal. So I'm gonna go around, I'll get all these brackets measured and write all the bracket measurements down, and then we can start making up some columns.
Left hand?
Let's take this one.
Oh.
Yeah, I like it better. So we just need to find a long board for our story pole, and these are our 18-foot purlins. So it's kind of the longest 2x4 we have on site. We have no 20-footers, and we need 18 because our walls are actually taller than 18 in some spots. So we'll have to get a little creative, but it'll work. We've done that before. Listen to those birds.
Yeah,
dude.
you want to know who's not happy about this weather is some birds.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, now something that I do say often that people question me on is, wait, you guys make all your own columns? I thought you bought them. Yeah, we do buy them pre-assembled. So these are all finger jointed. So we got green treat on the bottom. We don't need green treat because we are going to be completely above grade, but that's the way they come typically. And then these are also southern yellow pine, 3-ply, 2x6, and then they're glued,
And clinch
but then
riveted.
they're clinch riveted, which is basically a big wire roll that the machine just shoved wire through on like a rivet, I guess. And that's what holds it all together. So they come like this. The problem is they're not always the exact height that we want them. Or we have a center knock right here. This center comes out because that's where we typically put our trusses. But this point right here, where the end of the middle ply ends and the center knockout starts, is not the exact height of the truss based on the bottom length of the post. So we have to make up our columns to be the exact fit for us based on all the bracket measurements that we did with the laser, and we'll use the story pole to make sure everything stays consistent. So we gotta make up the story pole so that we have all of our girt locations, our truss height location, door headers, you name it, everything. That's what I'm gonna do next. These corner columns on both ends are different to each other. So these two are away, those two are away. Then we've got, let's start crossing off the list.
Yeah, I would say let's do sections. Let's do this.
Here's 6 posts. Let's do our 16-footer.
Yeah.
I beat it to you.
I hate you.
That was my idea.
Get out of here.
Okay, so I'm gonna mark my 16. What is that crappy pencil doing? There we go. This is much better. 16, and then my other heel for the other trusses are 18.6, and then we've got 20-foot one, not gonna work.
We'll
just do there's only 2 posts. We'll just do those kind of special. So we've got 2 different post heights. We've got a 18-foot 6 heel and a 16-foot heel. Let's go ahead and mark this with a marker, and we're gonna put 18-foot 6 heel. Then we're gonna do, this is so Greg and I don't get a little bit confused, because it's gonna happen. 16-foot heel. So we're gonna make up our first 6 columns, which are 16 foot. We're gonna get those out of the way, and we're gonna try to go through. We've got, what did we decide? We've got 16s, we've got standard 18.6s, we've got end wall 18.6s, we've got door jamb columns, we've got 18-foot 6 corner columns with 3-ply girder trusses, 2 sets of those, and then special truss posts that go up the shed dormer, posts that go on this 10-foot door, they only go up to the, those actually go up all the way too. So typically we have 2 sets of posts to make up, sidewalls and end walls. And now we have 8 at least.
Well,
so
if you want to count corners as a different type.
well then,
that's
okay,
3.
then I'll add another one here too, because I didn't count corners. 10 foot, 12 foot, 14 foot. Oh, that's, so I still need that, and I will still need this, because where we don't have a 16-foot heel, we will have a girt. So here, take a look at this, guys. This might be kind of cool to see. This is my heel height. That means 1 foot 3 and 8/16. So 1 foot 3.5, that's 15.5 inches. That is the dimension from here to this point. So I don't think I've ever really shown that, and I talk about heel, but when I make this story pole, I'm gonna go from heel, and I'm gonna go up 15.5 inches. This is where the top of my truss should be, but I need to add to that so that our tails can fit in here. So I always add 3 1/4 inches from that. And now this is where we're gonna cut the tops of our 16-foot post. Yeah, I'll just put top of 16. I don't want to get too confused because this is a girt. Now what I need to do is figure out where my soffit nailer is going to go exactly, so I can mark that as well, and that is going to be on a 2-foot overhang. All right, that's easy enough. 0 plus 3/16 and 0.
Plus 1/4.
Okay.
And plus 7/16.
Okay, so now that we have those dimensions right there, what we did on this, these are only 16 footers, and our posts are 22 foot because I need long posts in some regard for some of my posts. We went ahead and we took our knockout out, and we're just gonna use the knockout top that was already in here as our 0 point. So what that means is I'm just gonna mark exactly where our bottoms are off of heel. So heel is like our 0 point. So this one is 0, so I'm marking 16 foot, okay? This is plus 3/16, so I'm going 16 3/16. There's another 0, plus 1/4, plus 1/2, and plus 7/16. So now maybe that makes sense. Our truss pocket, the heel, will always be at the same point as long as we did the laser process right and got the accurate measurements for each bracket, and all the differences will be made up at the bottom of the post, so that elevation stays the same. That is our soffit, put an X below. That is our girt, put an X above, and then that is our cutoff right there.
Be the angle.
Yes, sir. So when you're good on, you're good. You're
Yeah,
good?
we're good, yep.
Okay. So this is what's great about story poles. I've done a whole video on story poles, guys, so we're not gonna go crazy in depth on that. If you wanna know more about story poles, we'll go ahead and check out the video over here in the corner if I remember. If I don't, drop a comment. I read comments more, so I'll see if I missed that, and I'll send you guys that link to that video, or just do a search on the channel and you'll find it. Story poles, they're awesome. They make this so much easier for Greg and I to be efficient and accurate. All right, so now we got all of our marks. We're just gonna go through and square them across for good visual when laying out our girts. So normally we do not cut our bottoms. We use the bottom as our literal bottom and go measure from there. But in this situation, our knockout was too high on the column to use the knockout as our truss knockout and still use the bottom of the post. It adds one more step, but I'll be honest, being my building, I don't have a problem with that, because sometimes the bottom of the column, you got staples, you got glue sometimes, they're not always perfectly even. When I come through and put my cut on it, it get a nice clean bottom, so they're gonna sit into the brackets even better. Not that it mattered before.
Doesn't matter.
It's just I'm anal.
I think you marked this one 16 5/8, and not 3/16.
Yes, 3/16.
Or not 3/16.
Yes, I did. I marked it. I specifically.
You're a 16th over quarter.
No, Greg, your tape measure's dumb.
I don't know if it's an eighth off.
Well, I'm telling you, I specifically even said to myself, Kyle, make sure you don't go wrong on these. And on this measurement specifically, I checked to make sure that I was 16 and 3/16. So what do you say about that? Oh, let me see it. Now go get a good tape measure that's the same as mine, and we'll be fine.
Oh my God.
I got one for you.
See, but I was using that, like I need the clip, because I was clipping it.
This is a brand new tape though, so I'm thinking what we can do is I'll give you the clip and I'll keep the tape.
Sure. It's kind of ridiculous, but we'll go with it.
So I'm just using these center blocks, which is what they're intended to do, to fill in this space up to where my heel is, which is right here on this mark. So I'm just putting it in, marking where my heel is, and then we just slide this back in and it fills this space, and we can now accurately make sure that this is where our truss is going to go. Then I need to mark where my cutoff is for the top of my truss heel. I always try to just do as much kind of the same thing at once to try to be as efficient as possible instead of going around doing different tasks. Even though they all have to be done on the same, the post, I just feel like it makes me a little bit quicker to get into a groove. So what is this here? Oh, this is a girt. This truss is gonna sit there, so we don't need a pocket. Okay. Just gotta think all this through, man. It's so different than what we normally do that I don't want to just kind of get comfortable with what we've always done and then be like, oh man, we didn't think of that. So we're just taking our time with these posts, making sure they're all right. I'd rather do it now than rework.
Yeah.
We hate rework.
Yeah.
All right.
We're on this side, the other side.
So this block here is going to hold our truss, which will get mounted right on the side here. But the reason it's so small is because we actually have a girt that's going to go right underneath of it. So that'll also hold it up. But square those around, big dog. And I think this one is done also. Cole told me this morning, Dad, it's supposed to snow shower today. No, it's not. That's a bunch of BS, Cole, I said. And well, I guess he was right. All right, guys, end of the day here. I thought we were gonna get all these posts made up today, but Greg and I aren't used to doing columns that are literally different on every column, it feels like. So it's taken us more time, but we're making sure that we spend the time to do it right. And we're just gonna go ahead and carry this over into tomorrow, when we'll probably get the rest of these columns wrapped up. Then we'll go through and kind of talk about all these different columns that we had to make. All right, guys, back in the morning. So we're on to a new section of columns that are for my most excitable area of the build. Like I'm super stoked for this side because we've got the second story mezzanine that is actually free suspended and held up by a girder. So we've got these columns that are actually gonna be a 6-ply column. So these are 3 plies from the factory, but we're gonna add 3 more plies later. So this first column here that I gotta make up, it's gonna be a little bit weird. I gotta do a little bit of math, but we gotta make up a bunch more columns. I think 14 columns that'll all be different. 2 will be the same. Couple will be the same, maybe. Corners will be opposite of each other, but the same. And then those 2 gable ends will be the same, but opposite. There. Which is another 3/8, so. And so this is the first time that we've ever actually done a headered truss set where the trusses will be sitting on a header versus inside of a, I guess, a column pocket. So it'll be interesting. Definitely not the way that we want to do it when we're 8 foot on center, but because we're doing a 2 foot on center truss set through here, that's pretty much the way it's going to be. Thanks for all that work you did there, buddy. All right, guys, we got the columns all done, and it definitely did take a little bit longer than I anticipated because we have a lot of different columns. Now, the important thing I want to stress is that at the start of this video, we lasered all the brackets. Then we made that story pole, which allowed us to be consistent through all of these columns that are completely different. Just starting on this wall, we've got a corner column, which is made up with a little block to hold our truss. It's a solid post. It's got an angle pitch cut. We go right next to that. We've got a end gable column, which has a center ply extension. So that goes all the way up, and it's longer, it's full length. These 2 are actually the same, so I guess that's 2 different columns. Here we have another corner column, but it's in the middle of a wall because this is where an elevation change happens, and we go from a 16-foot ceiling up to an 18-foot ceiling. And then we get lucky. We get a couple, standard columns here in a row. But then we go back to another corner column that's actually in the middle of a wall. So when I call these corner columns, it's because this building is kind of like 3 different buildings, and you'll see it as we build the trusses, I think. But more importantly, as we stand these walls, you're gonna start to see this. And once again, we go into more gable end columns on the corners. Just on this wall, we have 7 different columns, but all of them have the marks in the exact same places because we used that story pole. So this is the column video, guys. We've got a lot of crazy stuff going on in this build. The next video is going to be us building these walls and probably standing them up. So you're going to start to see the shape of this building. And then right after that, we go into my favorite part, which is the trusses. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on layout and framing the walls for the next video. If you guys haven't already, hit that thumbs up down below. Definitely appreciate that. And if you have comments, questions about this build, if you've already gone out and gotten the plan to follow along and you have questions about something, drop it down below in the comments because I'm still creating this content for you guys to hopefully help you. So I got to know your problems in order to do that. So definitely do the comments down below and we'll catch you on the next video.